All right. Welcome everyone to our part two of our holiday deep dive series, Peace on Purpose, the Science of Calm and Grounded Joy. We decided to do kind of an impromptu part two and talk about two very special oils today. All right, so every year around this time, I notice like two thoughts in my head. I cannot wait for the holidays, and I'm absolutely not ready for the holidays. That is my norm, and every year I tell myself that I'm not going to be in the same situation. And I mean, it's definitely getting better, but I think that there is an extra pressure that comes with the holidays, the extra time commitment. And that does add an extra bit of stress to our plate. So maybe you feel that way too. Like I adore the season. Like I cannot wait to get my house decorated. I love the smells. I love the twinkly lights. I love the baking. I love the music. I just love the way a house feels in December or November, whenever you decide to bring the holiday magic into your home. But along with that magic, there also comes that tightness of, oh my gosh, I got so much I gotta get done in these next couple weeks. So the mental checklist starts rolling. Did I order the thing? Did I sign the form? We have a program on Tuesday, a ball game on Thursday, a concert on Friday. When exactly is laundry happening? What am I making for Christmas Eve? What are we doing for Christmas morning breakfast? Did I remember the teacher gifts? And where are we going? When? And did I forget somebody? I think the scene of Home Alone, the chaotic morning of them leaving. I feel like that is a perfect replica of what goes on in our head every holiday season. And it's like, who am I forgetting? What am I forgetting to do? And it's like every time that I remember something, it's like another tab is opening up in my brain of like, oh, I got to remember this. I got to remember that. And that is where the stress comes in. So the truth is, most of us aren't actually overwhelmed because we have too much to do. It's really because we have too many open tabs in our brain. And our brain never shuts off because if you have an open tab in your brain, it creates an open loop, and your brain will just start spending a lot of energy on those open tabs. And I've got something I want to share with you towards the middle of the presentation where I'm going to talk to you about how I deal with those open tabs. I actually went through a time management course a couple years ago, and I was taught this process. So I wanted to bring that into you. I thought this was perfect time to bring that in. It doesn't really involve
Yeah.
oils, but I thought it's the perfect time to it pairs so beautifully with what we're talking about today. So, the open tab problem, what's actually going on? So, I want you to think about your brain like a computer browser. One tab open, not a big deal. Your computer can handle that. Three tabs open, still fine. 37 tabs open, which I hate to admit happens all too frequently on my computer and in my brain, but everything slows down. Your computer freezes, starts making like weird noises, like what's going on? And your nervous system works the same way as your computer does. So each unfinished task that you're doing, each event you're bracing for, each conversation you're worried about, or thinking about the empty chair at the holiday table, all of that's just looping onto your brain, and you're holding on to it. And those are the things that steal our peace during the holidays. Like we love the magic. We love all of the time, the family time, the gathering time. We love all of that. But when we're so busy dealing with all those open loops, it causes a lot of stress. So biochemically, every one of those open loops is a little drip of cortisol running in the background. Cortisol itself is not the enemy. God designed it to help us respond when something matters. But when it pings nonstop, remember to order the gift. Gotta, get the program on the calendar. Kids coming home for the holidays. The system never resets. And that's when GABA, which is your calming neurotransmitter, drops. Like when cortisol is high, GABA drops and your thoughts get louder and they get faster. Serotonin, which is your mood stabilizer, it drops. It makes you feel more snappy, more irritable, more fragile. And your dopamine, which is your focus and motivation, your dopamine starts scrambling. And that's where you start that list and you don't even know where to start. Can you relate to all this, Val?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I'm with you. Like, I love that, like, reel or whatever. It's like, got so many tabs open and one's spinning, and I don't know where the music is coming from. I mean, I feel like that's my brain too. Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're not too sensitive. You're not just bad at the holidays. I have friends that are like, I'm just bad at the holidays. I just, I just can't handle it. You're not a mess. It's your body is broadcasting. It says, I'm holding too much. I don't feel safe to rest. And I don't know which tab to close first. And that's why you can't really just willpower your way out of December and be like, this year it's going to be different. I mean, I tell myself that, like I said, I've gotten a lot better, but there was a season in my life where I would tell myself, okay, this December it's going to be better. And it never was because until you understand the chemistry, you have to change the chemistry and the environment that the nervous system is living in. And that's what we're going to talk to you about today. So forest bathing, the science of Shinrin-Yoku. Now that's a fun word. It sounds something poetic and it's like I know when there's a lot of people when you first hear the word Shinrin-Yoku or you read the bottle, you're like, I don't know what this is saying. Shinrin-Yoku, I'll say it one more time because it's really fun to say. But what it means is forest bathing. And no, you're not taking a bubble bath in woods. It's literally bathing your nervous system in the chemistry of the forest. In the 1980s, Japan was facing an epidemic of stress-related illness and burnout. Doctors began sending patients to old growth forests to measure what was happening in their bodies. They tracked cortisol, they tracked blood pressure, heart rate variability, and heart rate variability is a resilience marker. They checked immune cell activity, sleep quality, and anxiety levels. And what they found was absolutely stunning. After just a short period in the forest, people had lower cortisol, lower heart rate and blood pressure, higher HRV, which means their body could adapt to the stress better, improved immune function, better sleep, and reported lower anxiety. And this is huge because some of those changes lasted up to 7 days after they'd been to the forest. So what was happening? It wasn't just the quiet, it wasn't just the scenery, it was the chemistry of the forest.
Incredible.
So phytoncides are what trees are doing naturally. And they are what the chemicals that the trees put out, and we get to capture them in a bottle of essential oils called Shinrin-Yoku. So these molecules, like when you go to the forest, like, okay, Valerie, when you go to, say, the Black Hills, like we always think we're just on vacation and that's why we feel so different, right? But
Right.
you walk into those like pines and the hills and
Yeah.
there's just an aroma that hits your nose, right?
Yeah.
And those are the molecules that are traveling through the forest area. You breathe them in through your nose and they head straight to the olfactory bulb, which connects directly to the limbic system, which is our emotional and memory center of the brain. When those compounds hit your limbic system, several things begin to shift. That's where our cortisol drops, our heart rate slows down, the blood pressure lowers, the vagus nervous activation increases. So your parasympathetic, your rest and digest system turns on. Your HRV, that heart rate variability improves because your nervous system becomes more flexible and less brittle. And I know we all need that during the holidays because it's the little things that can just sometimes set us off. Like everything, you feel like everything's gone wrong, and then all of a sudden you burn the pie, and then it's just like you're just brittle because you're like, I can't handle all of this. Wasn't the idea that the pie was burnt that set you off, but it might be the tipping point that because you're more brittle. So our GABA activity increases and that your thoughts quiet when we get these chemicals in our brain. Your sleep improves because your process You're processing the day instead of carrying it. So, in simple terms, when you're breathing in the forest, it tells your entire nervous system you're safe enough to rest now. So Shinrin-Yoku, this is our forest chemistry in your home. It's built from the same tree families that were used in the forest bathing research. Hinoki, Japanese cedarwood, cypress, fir, and spruce. These oils are rich in chemicals like alpha-pinene and beta-caryophyllene, and they all help with the anti-anxiety, suppress or support GABA, improve airflow, mental clarity, promote deep rest and relaxation, associate with lower heart rate and calmer sleep, and work on that CB2 receptor site, that perceived stress of emotional balance. So when you diffuse Shinrin-Yoku in your living room or at night, your nervous system is getting the forest message chemically, even if your kitchen is still surrounded with dishes and your backpacks and wrapping paper. Like your house can actually, the environment of your house can be a little bit chaotic, but your nervous system is regulated and it's calm because of the just simply diffusing this oil. How simple is that? Like,
Yeah.
legit. There's nothing else in the world that can do what essential oils do for our nervous system.
Yeah.
And I'll probably bring this up again, and I'll say it, I say it often, but essential oils don't take your problems away. They just allow your body to handle them and handle the stress. So you can be present. So you can show up for your family. So you're not just totally stressed out that your family doesn't even want to be around you. You can have the most perfect Christmas, the most beautifully wrapped gifts, the perfectly clean house, the meal, 5-course meal. But if you're so stressed out creating that for your family, they're going to feel that, right? It's going to feel like, oh, well, I'm glad mom did all this. But, if she's crying at the dinner table or snapping at us because, she's tired, exhausted, burnt out, that's not the memories I want my kids to remember, right?
Right. Right.
So I want you to take a minute and imagine this, okay? You just finished a long day, the programs, the kids driving home in the dark, the noise of everything. You turn off the overhead lights, you click on the diffuser Shinrin-Yoku. When you sit down for just 2 minutes, your lungs start to remember how to take a deep breath again. That feeling isn't imaginary. It's the phytoncides in this beautiful blend reaching your limbic system, telling your cells to remember the forest. It's powerful what happens. All right, on to adaptive, the internal chemistry of resilience. This is a blend that doTERRA came out with, gosh, probably longer ago than I want to remember. 6, 7 years ago, maybe. I don't remember.
I can't even remember.
But it is a blend that changes what happens inside your brain. So I want you to think of adaptive as your neurochemical resilient formula. It's not just about feeling less stressed. It's about helping the brain adapt to changing schedules, emotional weight, difficult personalities. If you happen to be in a family where your holidays mean you have to spend time with people you don't love all the time. Um, Grief hits hard at the holidays. Expectations, transitions. Adaptive is your oil for that. And I want to just segue here for a quick minute and talk about we are always training our body. We're training our nervous system. And if you're coming into this masterclass, somebody who is maybe newer to oils or maybe haven't really dove in on the emotional aspect of it, and you've used the oils 1 or 2 times and you're like, that didn't do anything for me. That didn't do anything for me. That it might work for other people, but not for me. You are retraining your nervous system to work. Every breath you take of an essential oil, you are retraining your nervous system. So if you have years of ignoring your nervous system, years of, I don't mean ignoring it, but not nurturing your nervous system, not taking care of it, not doing some of the things that we're talking about today, one or two times that you take a breath of oil, you're not going to have the profound effect, but you are training your nervous system every single time. Your body remembers, your body keeps score. And so every time that you can bring calm to your body, even if you find yourself and you forget to use the oil for whatever reason, and Valerie's got some super awesome ways to teach you how to build this into your daily life. But let's say the day is chaotic and you're like, I didn't get my oils out this morning. And go grab them as soon as you realize that, have that conscious thought and take the deep breaths and start retraining your nervous system. Would you agree, Val?
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to add a scenario in here because I feel like one that you and I in different ways can probably relate to, but is like even the holidays when you have either like we have Hagen who's moved away, or whatever. And like, so you're trying to, I mean, holidays with your kids always feels like it's the tradition, like you're just always together. And then when they grow up and you have to try to kind of like fit that back in, like, work around his work schedule. Or if, like some of my friends that are divorced and like their kids have to go, you've experienced where your kids have to go somewhere else for the holidays and maybe you don't get that holiday with them or whatever. I mean, to me, it's like pre-essential oils. What could you do? Like sit around and eat or drink or whatever. Like, I know it doesn't take it away, like you said, it doesn't take away the heartbreak or the loneliness or the longing, but boy, it sure does make it somewhat more manageable when you can use something like adaptive and Shinrin-Yoku in those times that it just feels like it's just worse on the during the holidays because it feels like you're supposed to be together. And then for whatever reason, if you can't be together as a family, it does make it a little more like stressful.
Yeah, 100%. I was super blessed that doTERRA had just released the emotion oils right before my world imploded. And we didn't have adaptive in Shinrin-Yoku. I was thinking about this. This was a decade ago. 2015 was when my
Yep.
world fell apart this holiday season. And I was in that stage where I was not sure my marriage was over and I was really fighting for it. So I had to be really, sorry, this is going on a different storyline here, but you have to be really, when you're going through a situation like I was going through, and um, you have to be careful who you tell your marriage problems to, because at that stage I was still trying to work on my marriage. And, if things would have worked out, there's people that would have never accepted our we'll never accept
Yeah.
it. We've never accepted it, been okay with it, if they knew what I was walking through. So, I remember going to Christmas Eve service, and having to put a smile on my face, even though inside, I mean, I was dying, and thank goodness, I mean, I had the emotional oils. I mean, I wish I would have had adaptive because adaptive would have
Yeah.
been the perfect one. But yeah, you're right. And then as I navigated my divorce, the first Christmas Eve when I was home alone, and people mean well because I got invited to many Christmas Eves, but when you can't be with your own kids, it's kind of a reminder that so definitely there's a lot. I've walked the walk, and I know you have too, Valerie, of different things in our lives where we've had to
Yeah.
really, and everybody listening to this has your own story.
Yeah.
You know exactly what we're talking about because it's part of being human and the pain. And if you know anybody struggling, like, maybe it is their first year with a loss, whether it's a divorce or a grief of a death of somebody that's not at the dinner table. A beautiful gift is to give them the oil of Shinrin-Yoku and Adaptive and a diffuser. And they don't have to be anybody that's a doTERRA person. I mean, just a simple gift of
Yeah.
that would be so powerful. And they don't need to know anything about oils. Tell them put a couple drops in their diffuser, and these oils will work on their nervous system. They don't have to understand how. We're telling you the science of what they're doing, but you don't need to know any of this for them to actually work. You have a kid going through something
Yeah.
difficult. make sure they've got these oils in their diffuser at night.
My mom works as a substance abuse counselor and in a like long-term treatment living community. And Adaptive was one of her go-tos for when they would be very anxious and feeling a lot of stress, and like maybe their hands were shaking and they were very emotional. And she would just have them put a couple of drops of Adaptive on their hands, rub their hands together and smell it. And she was like, you could like visually see their hands stop shaking. Like it is like, and that's why I mean, kind of going on a little bit of a tangent here, sorry, but it's like, this is why I love essential oils, is because we can use them in times that there just isn't like, I could probably numb out with some medication or food or, whatever. There's some, but it's not going to be beneficial to me. Like the
Mhm.
thing that I could numb out on, alcohol, whatever, but these bottles actually help me to cope and are not harmful to my body.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Stetson, I mean, we use this on Stetson every day. He's more anxious, struggles a lot with some like obsessive thinking type things. And I'll tell you what, like we don't go into a new situation without Adaptive on him. I mean, he pretty much just gets it in every day anyway. Some days when we're not going anywhere or doing, he's a little, but so yeah, anyway, sorry for the tangent, but I just feel like this is such good information for people who feel like they don't have other options. I mean, like, what am I going to do about this? You put oils on, and I could put oils on him every 5 minutes if I need to. But
Yeah.
typically, within a 20-minute period, he's a different kid.
Yeah. They're so powerful because it's chemistry. It is chemistry hitting
Yeah.
our body. And when you look at your body as a programmable thing, essential oils program our brain to be able to have the chemistry to to support our bodies.
Yeah.
So adaptive, the name adaptive is intentional. Adapt means to adjust, shift, stabilize, recover, and respond differently than before. Isn't that exactly what we need during the holidays? Like we need that ability to be adaptable. And our friends that aren't super adaptable human beings by nature, if you're like a creature of habit, this one, we all know the holidays throw you for a loop. It's like, oh, so and so's late, and the package didn't come. There's so many things that can get you off your, your just throw you off. And those are the things that we unintentionally bring into our families. And your kids don't care for if you have the perfect holiday. They want a happy mom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about why each oil in Adaptive is so amazing, and you're going to know why this is such a powerful tool. So Magnolia is your serotonin and dopamine regulator. It is one of the most powerful tools in Adaptive. And I'm sorry on the slide, my autocorrect wants to put Adaptive and E on Adaptive. I thought I fixed them all, but it is, I wish doTERRA would just have spelled it with an E, but they didn't. Anyways, Magnolia's key constitutes have an effect on your serotonin receptors. So that's going to be your stabilizers of your mood. You're going to have less irritability. It's going to soften the edges of sadness. Dopamine regulation, Magnolia is powerful for that. So it improves your focus, helps reduce that overthinking, supports the motivation. GABA activity enhances the calm, reduces that panicked, firing, nervous feeling. So Magnolia is like a deep emotional hug on a cellular receptor level. So in tough seasons, especially grief, divorce transitions, complicated family dynamics, this matters. GABA or lavender is the GABA amplifier. Amplifier. It's a big word. Again, adaptive is still spelled wrong. Anyways, adaptive GABA is the brakes for the brain. So when you start spinning out, as my girls like to talk about their little sister, like Whitney's spinning out. So like that just becomes this inside thing. It's her, she has no brakes on her brain. When Whitney gets kind of downward spiraling, something upsets her and she can overreact. And that is her GABA not um not showing up to the party, let's just say. And so lavender is a GABA amplifier. So that's going to bring the brakes of the brain. I don't know when was first told that GABA was brakes for the brain, it made such a picture in my brain that it makes sense. We need to slow down the firing of neurons. We need to reduce that nervous tension and a support sleep. So lavender has been shown in research to reduce anxiety and improve rest. So when you see it in adaptive, picture it as the blend that's just like turning down the volume noise of everything externally. Wild orange is our anti-overwhelm spark. So wild orange and adaptive brings that gentle uplift. It supports the dopamine, so it helps with motivation and follow through. It brightens the mood, it prevents the gray, flat feelings that can sometimes take over, and it helps with the, I don't even know where to start, paralysis. I've been there more than I want to admit. And this is the part of adaptive that helps you take a look at your list and think, okay, I can take one step. Spearmint is your cognitive clarity. So it's going to help with your focus, support your clear thinking, settles foggy, scattered brain patterns. It's perfect when you're trying to manage the logistics, the planning, and or heading conversations that you want to stay grounded and articulate. And then we got copaiba in there. I mean, this blend is just so beautiful, isn't it, Valerie? I mean, like
Yeah, it's
one of these
incredible.
oils, like wow. I mean, they each one, you could use each one individually. You
Yeah.
know, copaiba is going, what I love about copaiba, and this is probably what how I would sum it up, is it changes how stress feels. We don't have to feel that like, I don't know. Trying to describe how stress feels is like trying to describe what salt tastes like without saying, you know, using,
Mhm.
well, it's just salty, we know what stress feels like, right? Um, that just ready to snap, ready to cry, ready to, I can't take on one more thing. And copaiba works on those CB2 receptors and it really tones down stress perception. It tones down inflammation and it tones down emotion reactivity. So, those moments when something small feels huge, that's often when your stress perception dial is cranked up. Copaiba in adaptive helps turn that back down to a sane level. And I know you all know what I'm talking about, the spiral of what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. What if this happens? And then I'm going to use a real life example because it's easier to tell a story than for me to make one up in my head. But so Janae's dog got kicked in the mouth the other day, and he has a tooth that is loose. And this was on a Saturday night. She calls me and, she's like, what do I do? What if it gets infected? What if his jaw's broken? What if? And it's like, okay, it's not an emergency. It's probably not something that they're probably going to do much with on a Saturday night. So let's just, keep an eye on it and call the vet first thing on Monday. And it was being able to use oils to kind of get, instead of like, well, what if this, then what if he gets this infection? What if it massively takes over and then he dies because he goes septic? It's like, pump the brakes a little bit. It'll be okay. We called the vet today and, the soonest they can get him in is Thursday. And the soonest they could extract the tooth in Bozeman is December 9th. So obviously it's not as urgent. And that was just an example I just walked through in my personal life. So I thought I would check. So we all have those moments where, Saturday night, it was the worst thing in the world. My brain went, what if he dies? To the vet isn't concerned about it because they can't even get him in to see him even till Thursday, which he's going to be on his way back to Nebraska pretty soon. So I'll get him here. I've already got my appointment made for him back here. And, those are the things like, again, it has nothing to do with the holidays, but those stressful things. And Copaiba is powerful at bringing it back instead of spiraling into what ifs.
But life doesn't care about the holidays.
No, life
Like
does not
this
care
will
about the holidays.
still things will still happen even when you're stressed about the holidays. So it's like
True,
kind of
true,
the straw that breaks the camel's back.
true, true. So then we add neroli in there, and that's part of the adaptive blend as well. And it softens the impact of the emotional shock. It eases the trauma response. It supports the heart through grief. So this would have been the reason, like, for me when I said I had to show up with a smile on my face on Christmas Eve when my inside I was absolutely brokenhearted and trying to figure it all out, what this all meant. And neroli is the perfect oil that is going to get you through those moments. The empty seat at Christmas table. The first year post-divorce was hard all in of itself. The first Christmas that my kids had to wake up Christmas morning without both parents in the house. Um, when my kids were with their dad. I mean, that was a huge transition. I'm dealing with this now. Valerie mentioned this adult kids coming home. Like we cannot wait for them to get here. But yeah, it's one more thing that we're juggling compared to a different, it's just a different season of our life. And traditions looking different than they used to. If you're somebody who's really nostalgic and you love this season of your life that you're in and you're not ready for that next chapter, maybe it's boyfriends coming to your intimate family Christmas. It's always just been you and your kids, and all of a sudden we've got boyfriends or girlfriends coming, and then pretty soon, little ones coming, and just that there are emotions that go along with that transition of our family dynamics changing. And so adaptive gently holds grief gently. It doesn't erase the ache. It just gives your nervous system enough stability to be able to feel it without being swallowed up by it. So when we put it all together, this is what adaptive really does. It quiets your racing thoughts, it soothes your emotional swings, it helps you focus with task initiation, it calms the overreactive stress response, it lessens the flight and fight reactions, and it holds grief and transitions it through neroli and magnolia. So adaptive helps your brain decide differently. What's important, what can wait, and what's not worth my peace. That's what makes it feel like a magic potion emotionally, and it restores your capacity to be able to adapt to whatever life is lifing you. So when we started this a couple months ago, we started talking about the Serenity Restful Sleep Complex because we talked about the L-theanine, how powerful that was for focus and all the amazing things that it does for the brain. And then we moved into Melissa. And so all of this is kind of part of a series that we're building on. And so Serenity Soft Gels, they're going to create that baseline of GABA. They're going to help support the amino acids to help form calm on a chemical nutrient level. Okay. Then we're going to add in our microdosing of Melissa. And this is where Valerie is going to give you examples exactly how to build this all in. But I'm just telling you on a chemistry level what each of these are doing. So we've got our Serenity soft gels that are building that baseline of GABA and supporting nutritionally the nutrient aspect of it. We've got the internal signaling of safety that's coming from our Melissa microdosing, and that supports the GABA and emotional stability. And it tells your body, it's safe, and it's really tells your brain and your mind that you're safe. Then we bring in adaptive, and that's going to help close those tabs and adapt to whatever's in front of me, and then add Shinrin-Yoku and just bathe that nervous system in forest chemistry. It's going to help lower that cortisol, calm the heart rate, improve HRV, and really prepare the body for deep repair. So that's what we've put together for you. So I want to share with you a little bit of a close the tab routine ritual. It's oils plus brain dumping. Again, this is part of this time management course that I took, and I'd never thought of it about it until he explained it this way. But when we can get The whole idea of this ritual is when you can get something down on paper, it's so much more manageable than keeping tabs open in your brain. So before you start, you take your Serenity soft gels, and that's going to turn down that internal volume and the nervous system. You're going to microdose with Melissa to give that safety to the brain and the limbic system. You're going to put on the adaptive because that's going to encourage focus, emotional regulation, and the stress perception. And then you're going to add Shinrin-Yoku by diffusing or putting it on topically to really bring in that calm chemistry from the forest chemistry. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a piece of paper and you're going to write everything down that is circling in your head. And I would definitely suggest doing this at least once a week, but during the holidays, you could do it 2 to 3 times a week. Write down every thought that you're thinking. It's called a brain dump. And, like everything that you feel like you need to get done that you feel is putting pressure on you, that's causing you to be stressed, gifts, events, food, school stuff, family dynamics, grief moments, worry. It's not just a to-do list. This is literally to get all of your thoughts down on paper and you write them down. And then I want you to sort them into categories. And there's going to be things that you're going to brain dump that there's really nothing you can do about except maybe pray or, work on your mindset on how you are seeing the situation. But now this is for the to-do list part of it. So create 4 columns. What needs to be done today? What needs to be done this week? What can wait till after Christmas? And what can I delegate or drop? And this is where you will feel like your shoulders will just drop at this point because the mountain becomes a path. Like you're like, oh, I could knock half of this out in one afternoon. Why? But until you get it down on paper, you will spend so much time. And the cool thing is once you get it down on paper, you free up space. It's like closing tabs in your brain when you write it down on paper. It's crazy. You've done this before, right, Val?
Yeah. Yep. And I think it's just because like for me, I mean, the amount of thoughts you have going through your brain in a minute, whatever, but it's like it almost feels like you're taking control or something when you write it down and it's like you can get it out and then exactly like you're saying, it's just kind of frees up space that feels so cluttered when everything is just spinning in there.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, if you're like, I don't even like, if you're a person that will freeze when you're like, I don't even know what to start writing, then get up and walk away and leave your pen and paper out and go do something like the dishes. Go do something and leave your pen and paper there and give your brain time to just do some mundane activity instead of the pressure that I have to write everything down. And you just start filling the paper in. And like that's another way to do it too. If you're like, I don't even know where to start. And just starting is the hardest part because once you start writing something down, it's gonna be like, okay, and this and this and this. And don't give yourself any extra pressure by like, I have to list everything. Just list every thought that's circling in your brain, everything you were thinking. With some of my life coaching, what I've done with some of my people I worked with on that, I tell them to take a piece of paper and um put a timer on their clock on their phone. And every hour I want you to go write down what you were thinking when your timer goes off. Just write down the thought you were thinking. And that's another way to get thoughts out of your head and into a piece of paper. So, then I want you, after you got your paper filled out, um, take a deep breath of in adaptive or Shinrin-Yoku or both. Take a little more microdose of Melissa and whisper a phrase like, I'm safe. I can do this one step at a time. This list is manageable. Tell yourself something that you can believe about it. Be like, oh, this ain't so bad. Piece of cake. I could do this easily. This uses your chemistry and your environment and your mindset together. And this is how we close tabs and not just force, but support through it. So I do want to talk just briefly, and we talked about this already a little bit, but about the holidays, because not for everybody, the holidays is not always a happy time. Grief, difficult people that you have to deal with, the emotional weight of the holidays. For some of you, this will be the hardest part is the person who's not there, the empty chair, the split holidays, traditions that don't look like they used to. a complicated relative that you're bracing yourself to see, the joy and sadness sitting right next to each other on your heart. And I think that if you're human, you've experienced that feeling. And this is where adaptive and Shinrin-Yoku become emotional lifelines because adaptive holds the heart in grief and social stress, and Shinrin-Yoku helps discharge the tension and trauma through breathing, through breath, through parasympathetic activation. Melissa brings the light of safety into the system, and that Serenity Sleep Complex continues to rebuild that calm chemistry. So you're not just getting through the season, you're caring for the nervous system in a life that has lived a lot. And you still want to show up with love. So super, super powerful, these oils. We want you to get them on. We don't want you to
Yeah.
just listen to this information. Grab them, get them on. If you don't have them, go put them in your cart and get them shipped to you sooner than later.
Yeah.
So I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine it's mid-December. And the events are still on the calendar. There are still things to do. The world is buzzing around you, but inside your chest isn't tight. Your thoughts aren't screaming. Your mood isn't swinging with every text, every change of plans, every little stressor. You take a breath and it actually all just everything just calms down. Your shoulders drop without you trying. You move through the day one step at a time with clarity. You walk into a gathering, even with that tricky personality in the room, and your peace doesn't get hijacked. You sit at the table, even with someone missing, and your nervous system is stable enough for you to hold both love and ache without being overwhelmed with either. This is what you can have. And I'm living proof. Valerie is living proof. We've both been through some extremely hard times we have lived.
Mm.
And I am very grateful that doTERRA was in my world when those moments hit.
Mm.
And so grateful. And so again, if you know somebody that is struggling, this is huge gifts for them. If you have a spouse that's having a hard time, maybe they've lost a parent or a loved one, the beauty, and maybe they're not an oiler, maybe they have no interest in ever putting an oil on topically.
Mm.
That is the beauty of diffusing. You get to change the environment of your whole home. Like go back to that forest bathing of just walking into a forest and the research that they did. And they actually have studies out there on how there's scientific studies how they've taken the forests, like what we've done. I mean, these are not doTERRA studies. These are scientific studies done outside of this, where they put it in a hotel room in essential oils and they tracked how the stress response people felt afterwards. Um, it is legit, you guys. This is the biggest gift you can give somebody in your life that is hurting. And so, with that, I'm going to turn over to Valerie, and she has some amazing rituals and ways to get systems to get them back into your life.
Did you have something here?
We have one more piece to the puzzle that we're going to add. There'll be a part three coming in a few weeks, week and a half, maybe. That's going to really anchor this, everything that we've taught so far. So we want you to integrate it. Like, don't wait for Christmas, the week before Christmas, to start doing these things. Where we
Yeah.
rolled this
Do it
out
now.
in a pattern where we wanted you to start with the Serenity and then with the Melissa and now this. And so it's really, we want you to build on it and start using it now because um, peace on purpose won't just support your holidays, it will support your entire life.
And make the holidays even better.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to talk about some steady rhythms here. And I was thinking about this, like, like a train, like, but I also know, like, some people, my friend and I both have this, like, repetitive noise can cause more anxiety. But I just think that steady rhythm of just getting into something that you're doing every day, like Haley said, don't wait until, the time is here. Get it in your ritual and your system now. Um, so the holidays, there's good stress as well as negative stress. So like we were talking about, like all the things that we're, getting gifts and doing this and gathering together is good. But I was just on the phone with my grandma last night. There was like four of us on the phone and we were trying to plan, like when is Christmas going to happen? But we're now four generations and my one family member, his son has to go to his mom's and like, so we have to plan around a lot of different people. And I could kind of, you know, like it's just you want everybody there, but also it's hard, like for my grandma, to pick a date that is going to work for the majority. Maybe there's troubled relationships, grief. Haley talked about a lot of this, but I feel like the holidays kind of seem to accentuate these kinds of things. But these rituals, these steady rhythms that we're going to talk about, they're suitable for your children. They're good for in stressful situations, but they're also good for every day of your life. So it doesn't, like a friend of mine used to tell me, if you're putting oils on your kids, you probably need to put them on yourself too. Vice versa. If you're putting oils on yourself, don't forget about putting them on your kids because they seem resilient and they seem whatever, but like, and they seem like maybe they're not paying attention, but they are. And so don't leave them out. Okay, so I left a little opening here for the next part of our series here, but this is kind of our steady rhythm stack. So we have the Serenity soft gels that we talked about a couple of months ago, Melissa that we're talking about with the microdosing, and then adding in Adaptive and Shinrin-Yoku. This stack is just like, this is going to be, if you put this into practice, like it will be such a game changer. Like I said, I mean, just having tools in my life that I can deal with things that are very stressful for me, and it doesn't include anything that's going to be hurtful to my body, um, is like, even with my kids, I think, what would I have done before essential oils in this situation? So even like being away from home, if you have a homebody kid, like one of the things that we spent some time away from home here recently, but is like having a way, like a hotel room, or if it's possible to do it in somebody else's home. Like we used oils, and it was like we could create the same home environment away from home, which is good for little ones too. So this is kind of a like schedule, if you will, and I put green checks by like what I would definitely do. But you could obviously add these in. You could do this however works for you, that you'll do it and is supportive for you. But in the morning, like taking a Serenity soft gel, you can go back and watch that deep dive we did about that and how to pair it with caffeine and what it can do for focus. But I think when you pair that Serenity soft gel, and no, it won't make you sleepy during the day. It's just so good for your nervous system of providing that like kind of that calm and kind of anchor at the beginning of the day when stress is coming. And then if you haven't seen that, we created the a holiday calm balm with Melissa and raw coconut oil, and that you can just scrape a little bit of that off. And in a minute, I called it a pea-sized dollop. I didn't know what else to call it. Like you don't need very much, but just being able to get that right under your tongue in an economical and a more diluted way. Like again, you can use it with your kids because it doesn't have quite the punch that a whole drop of Melissa would have. And then also using the Shinrin-Yoku and Adaptive. So you can kind of see how the schedule here plays out with morning, afternoon, evening, and bedtime. And you can kind of know, and again, if you've ever watched one of our Zooms throughout the last 11 years, you've probably heard us say, listen to your body. Like keep these handy, keep some of these in your office, keep some of these in your car, keep some of these around you. So like if the day is turning to crap, you can grab a hold of these and utilize these tools instead of having to wait till you get home or whatever. So you can kind of see the schedule play out here. So here's the morning rhythm. So take 1 to 2 capsules of Serenity. You can, if you're not a caffeine person, you can take them in the morning. And if you are a caffeine person, maybe you want to pair these more with your caffeine in the morning. And like I said, it's a whole class we did on how, the L-theanine in the Serenity soft gels works with caffeine. So go check that out if you're interested in that and having that focus. But then having that holiday calm balm just right there to be able to utilize. just a little bit of it. And like I said, you can use it with your whole family, and just use it throughout the day as you need it. But using Shinrin-Yoku and Adaptive, like applying 1 or 2 drops on your wrists, on your palms, smelling it in, putting it in a diffuser while you're getting ready for the day. Like, how about starting your day with less cortisol and less stress, and just having kind of that already on board would be an awesome idea. So then you come into the afternoon rhythm. You can either like do this or don't do this with the 1 capsule of Serenity. Again, listening to your body and knowing what does your body need. How does it? Try it. Did it help? Did it not help? You can kind of play with that a little bit. Using your holiday calm balm again. And it's like I said, it's just a part of a dollop of like raw coconut oil, and you can just literally take a spoon and scrape a little bit off, put it under your tongue, it melts. It's incredible. Um, and then with Shinrin-Yoku and Adaptive, it's when stress rises or before a stressful meeting or conversation, put these oils on your wrists, behind your ears, and on your heart. So your ears carry a lot of stress too. I just watched a reel the other day, like where it talked about like pulling your earlobes down like 20 times on each side, because there's so much stress that is held there. And also, if you've ever had an aroma touch like that is one of the most calming when you do the circles or someone does the circles on your ears. Like, I never knew my ears, like, but they hold on to a lot of stress. And your heart is just a really great place to be able to smell that in, but also it's going to, get into the tissues and do its work. The evening rhythm. So this is like, maybe as you're coming home, maybe, a gal I used to follow online, she talked about sitting in her garage and transitioning, kind of like, sorry, my watch is making a sunburst. But, taking that time to go from work to mom or work to dad or whatever you're doing, and just taking a moment to decompress. I tell Burton to do this and he never listens to me because he doesn't like me to tell him what to do. But he is definitely one that, like, he can have a people overload. And I'm like, when he's coming into our house, it's guaranteed that it's going to be wild here. And I'm like, just take a few minutes in your vehicle to just kind of be ready in a way, because it's like you're going to come in and I'm going to have a lot to say, and there's just going to be a lot of noise. So applying it to your collarbones as you drive home or get home, diffusing it while you're making supper, place it in a bath or a foot soak with some Epsom salt. Just a really good way to kind of reset that meter in your body. And then at bedtime, again, taking 1 to 2 capsules of the Serenity soft gels, another bit of the holiday calm balm, and then definitely like diffusing Shinrin-Yoku at night is really supportive for that cortisol balance, but also just that de-stressing and helping support your cardiovascular health and everything. And then when you pair it with Adaptive and or Serenity and or Breathe, you're just really going to be opening up the airways, just adding more calm. Like, I feel like those 4 together I used to diffuse Shinrin-Yoku, Adaptive, and Serenity all together. And then I was like, well, Breathe is definitely one that like you could add in there, and just, it's like going to be this calm opening of your airways. So that is kind of the rhythm that you want to use it. Here's some reasons for putting it on topically. So your vagus nerves, they start in the brainstem and then they run down and they go all the way down into your abdomen, and they have so much to do with your organs and like controlling your breathing and your heart rate, and just having some calm happening. And like, you can put it on your brainstem, like on the back of your neck. You can put it down the sides of your neck. Again, your earlobes, your heart, on your abdomen. You have a lot of lymphatic, a big lymphatic network in there, just helping to create some movement there too, and just having the whole body experience. But when you apply it to the areas of the body that you hold your stress, that's also helpful too. So maybe it's your shoulders. Maybe I carry a lot of my stress in my stomach and my chest. And also the big toe is a reflexology point for the brain. So when you're putting these oils on, think about where you need it. Those tabs, they probably need some support. So putting oils on your big toe is always a good idea. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit. We want you to stay tuned because we do have a part three coming. And that is where we're going to add frankincense to this stack. So please we want to say thank you for joining us for these deep dives always, but especially this one where we're kind of creating this stack of just helping it make your days, even like the holidays is kind of a special time, but this is definitely an everyday kind of steady rhythm stack that you can definitely do. So stay tuned for that. And with that, that is all I have. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
Yeah, no, thank you. Those are all super doable stacks too, and I love that you gave so many different options for, like how to use it in your evening. And you're not saying do all the things, pick one,
Yeah,
if you're a commuter, put it in your car on your way home, like it's, I love the variety of options because ultimately we just want you to get these oils in your home on you. They do no good if you buy an oil and leave it
yeah,
in the bottle. They do no good.
yeah.
You actually have to open the bottles and get
Mm-hmm.
them on.
Yep,
So,
100%.
like Valerie said, we want to thank you for taking the time to go through these deep dives. Um, our goal with these deep dives is to really help you understand why you're doing what you're doing and to give you some practical ways to use them, So our goal is to really like that you leave this deep dive knowing why you're using these oils and how to use them. So that's kind of our whole premise behind our deep dives. And um again, I just want to reiterate that you're constantly retraining your nervous system. This is not a one and done, one time you diffuse an oil and you're miraculously never feel tension again. This is retraining your nervous system to respond, training your body that you're safe and that we just want you to be here and present and happy and hope you have an amazing holiday season. And we're looking forward to part three.
And I just want to add real quickly a little shout out to you, Haley. And for those of you who are watching this, if you don't know, I mean, it's kind of a rare, I shouldn't say kind of, it is a rare thing to have someone that cares that much about the science because I don't necessarily need to know. I mean, I love the body, I love how the body works and all those things. But I think it's you teaching about the science really speaks to the people who need to know because I'm not going to go that deep on the science. So I feel like there's definitely, I just want to say thank you to you for the research that you do because it helps all of us when, like I said, I'm not probably going to be digging that deep for people. And so thank you for trusting your passion and actually doing the research and diving in so that we can have these deep dives and get the because there's definitely people who won't use it until they know how or why. And so I think you're providing that for them. So thank you for that part.
You're so welcome. And part of my reasoning for it is I think I've heard so many times over the decade, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. And I just want to normalize that it's working, even if you don't think it's working. Like when you understand chemically, those chemical reactions that I'm talking about are happening whether you feel them or not. And sometimes you don't feel it after one time. It's the compound effect. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I handled that pretty well. I think I'm freezing.
What?
Am I freezing on my end?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
You were
All
good. I thought you said it was gonna freeze, and I was like, "What? What does that have to do with anything?"
All right.
All
Well, thank
right.
you very much, Val. This has been great. Thank you for
Yes.
all the useful tips and how to actually use the
Yeah.
products because I think that's been something we've maybe not done a great job in the past of exactly we tell them what to get, but then we don't be like, this is how you use it. So
Yeah.
thank you for your
Yep.
all your creativity and your being able to just lay it out super simple what to do.
Well, thank you for that. And I just want to say to the people watching, like, it is never like, I mean, I know there's people out there. My mom is one of those that wants the recipe, they want the step by step, they want but never feel like, I mean, if something feels more doable to you, like, I'm going to be able to be more committed. Like, these are suggestions. They are not like written in stone that you have to do it this way. Because I think all the way up to doTERRA's doctors, they'll say, whatever you'll do is the best time and the best way to do it. So is there an optimal time or a way? Sure. But if you're not going to do it, then it doesn't matter anyway. And stressing yourself to try to decide that. So just take these as suggestions and just use them. Get them on your body.
Awesome. All right. Have an amazing rest of your day, everybody who's ever listening to this, and we'll be back with part three and down the road. Bye, guys.
Bye.